Hello and hi, I'm Sotan and Satan, and today I'm going to present to you an archaeological discovery from the Hije project, and the reason why I'm in this year's script ring of the 2026 Conlang Relay. I'm sure you've heard this like 100 times over, but it's dictated by George the Man himself. A Conlang Relay is like a game of telephone, where each participant uses a conlang and acts as a translator, where the body of text gets changed and altered through the process. Before me was Bib the Biberidian from the Discord Biberidian, dedicated to the YouTube channels Biberidian and Biberidian 2. What I received from Biberidian was a text and transliteration guide. Using Paint, I proceeded to parse the text. With conjunction of the reference grammar and vocab he provided, I got the following gloss, and from that, this translation. Yeah, it kinda sucks. I got stuck on parts of it for a while. After having a rough translation, I proceeded to interplay cultural effects onto the torch, setting from what I could in a mid-Bronze Age society. As demonstrated, a spell of darkness became under the skies made dark by shamans. Foreigners, barbarians, and enemies all coming together under the intertangled term Toku. Both uses of land here uses the term Fegrele, as opposed to homeland, which uses the term Ile. These terms are more complex than what I translated them into English, but I hope my definitions could be understood. Did I actually write those out? Anyhow. One thing I did try to do was preserve the possessive relationships of Sakvamir. But Seriki's grammar is nothing like Sakvamir, so instead I utilized a grammatical principle in the language called the attributive phrases. This is the closest structure I could find to maintain this type of relationship, but I don't know if I actually remember to write this down in the grammar. Hello and welcome to the seminar. Today we'll be talking about an archaeological artifact that we've gathered from the Gulf of Kohe, specifically in the Peninsula of Mahaji. This is an image of the artifact discovered. It has been restored somewhat, and it appears to be one of the few artifacts that we have of the Ajishan bead script, a logosyllabic writing system. It was developed out of the old Ais syllabary. And the reason why we have so few of these archaeological discoveries is because this writing system is recyclable. So when a scribe was done reading this and they did not need this to be referred to again, they would simply just take it apart. So often these examples are one use only. Another interesting fact is each individual string represents either an entire sentence or clause. A unique development amongst this, besides just becoming more syllabic and being recyclable, is scribes used a shorthand of developing these morphological beads. So some of these beads do not represent syllables nor semantic ideas, but instead grammatical positions and grammatical inflections of a word. In this example, we find many examples of what appear to be case endings and verb endings being dictated by a single bead. And from what we know about this particular example is a lot of these case endings were not homophonous, which means you could spell the same inflectional ending the same way regardless of how it was actually pronounced. Now, because this comes from the old Ais writing system and was written by a variety of Ais, it was shaped by old Ais' phonology. This is the reconstruction of old Ais, featuring many different places of articulation, having a rich consonant inventory, a somewhat rich vowel inventory. And some of these consonants are hard to reconstruct. There appear to have been at least 2 rhotics, 2 palatal approximants. Additionally, there's a distinction between front-rounded and unrounded vowels. Now, as this was developed into the Ayesian script, the dental fricatives appear to no longer be found in these recordings. Any examples we find that record this script does not have dedicated characters for th and the in the reconstruction. Additionally, the front rounded vowels are also not present. We have found syllables dedicated to I and U, E, O, and A. We have now never found syllables which appear to be dedicated to U and U. This is potentially because the script developed after a number of sound changes, which was lost these characters from Old Ais, making this a variety of Southern Old Ais if the youngest date. Additionally, the approximates and the rhotics are no longer distinguished in the writing system as well. So this particular example, though, is actually not of Ais itself. It is instead of Seriki. Seriki is a different language. The phonetics of these characters, when read out phonetically, tend to align with Seriki words and Seriki grammatical positions, rather than Ais's words and Ais's grammatical positions. And this text is also incomplete. We do not have the front half of the text, and we do not have the back half of the text. We only have about the middle portion of the text, which appears to be an account of a story or historical event. The phonology of Seriki is demonstrated here. Features similar places of articulation, but not as diverse. Seriki potentially was either a language isolate or an isolated branch of the Western Haitian languages. The phonology distinguishes between at least 5 vowels, but there potentially were more. Some of these vowels may or may not be properly recorded in the script, and they're hard to reconstruct because the native writing system of Seriki is logographic purely. This is what we got about this artifact so far.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Paukoe kuusu rutsufe si tebe tokuake tutri. Kunito ku koklo fico che trise ferre proprio lauca. Balcoe cu mebro metra bizobe coe cu tokua o cua co fecrele kikuce. Pau cu fecrele che sus rumor muceo cua lucidrafi. Lomel miaiko kusao kui toka e jilebo riutri.